Season 2 begins in breathtaking fashion. Betty is standing on the beach when Armando approaches her, divorce papers in hand. She accepts them, but instead of signing, she suddenly throws them into the sea. In that moment, her heart takes control. She runs after him, looks him in the eyes, and admits that while she hopes her daughter Mila will forgive her, she simply cannot stop loving him. The two share a passionate kiss as the waves swallow the divorce papers forever. Meanwhile, somewhere else, Mila wakes up beside Jeff, only to tumble right out of bed. Jeff teases her, thanking her for the fashion show and joking about how Hugo must be celebrating. But their moment is cut short when Carmen, Jeff's girlfriend, appears out of nowhere, announcing that the house she and Jeff will share is ready. Shocked, Mila admits she had no idea, since Jeff never talks to her about personal matters. Back with Betty, she wakes up next to Armando. But when Mila suddenly arrives, Armando has to escape quickly. Betty refuses to let her daughter know they've rekindled their love. After some hesitation, Betty opens the door, and Mila walks in with a smile, asking why her mother took so long. She jokes about having something in her eye, then warmly declares that she wants to spend the entire day with her favorite person, her mom. At Ecomoda, Patricia stares into the mirror. A pregnancy test in her hand reveals positive. The shock is too much. She faints instantly. Panic spreads as the others find her unconscious, and Sandra even tries to wake her with a slap, without success. Then, everyone notices the pregnancy test. Carmen tries to get involved, but the group makes it clear this is between Patricia and Nicholas. Patricia, dazed, begs Nicholas to carry her, and he takes her away, while Sandra mutters that Patricia is old enough to be a grandmother, not a mother. Mila, always eager for gossip, notices 2 glasses on the counter. She starts bad-mouthing Armando until Betty cuts her off sharply, reminding her he's still her father. Elsewhere, the papero meets Marcela. She asks what his real intentions with Ecomoda are. He admits he isn't sure about the company, but he is sure about her. Their moment is interrupted by a phone call, and he leaves abruptly. Maria returns, her sudden wealth raising eyebrows. Waving US dollars, she offers help to the girls. Mahu laments that Betty and Armando left just when the company needs rescuing. Ignacio, full of optimism, insists this is their best moment. But the papero bluntly reveals he doesn't care about the company at all. He's only there to find beautiful women. Maria warns him to leave Marcela alone, hinting that she's on the other side. He, completely clueless, just repeats that he loves her. On the street, Armando drifts through memories of Betty. Meanwhile, Betty warns Camilla not to mistreat her father. Camilla confesses she was with Jeff, and now with Carmen in the picture, everything is a mess. At that exact moment, Nicholas calls Betty with startling news. He might be a father. But she spots Armando from a distance and abruptly ends the call, pretending to be worried about something else in front of Camilla. Patricia, on the other hand, is devouring food with pregnancy cravings. She tells Nicholas they'll be spending the night in a suite, then proudly announces she's already planned the wedding. It will be in 1 month, just in time for her baby bump to show. Betty catches up with Armando, urging him to leave before Mila sees them. He jokes that he's been looking for her, sneaking in a quick kiss before Mila suddenly appears. Soon, music begins, and Betty dances with her daughter while Armando watches from the shadows. Meanwhile, Nicholas confides in Aramis that he's going to be a father. Aramis doubts it, but says he'll only be the godfather if the wedding is in a church. Mila questions if Nicholas even wants to marry Patricia at all. Then, an urgent call. Berta summons everyone for a critical meeting. The room fills, but suddenly, Majo, Ignacio, and Mario storm in, completely uninvited. The invitation was only for the papero, but Majo excuses herself by claiming she's there as his lawyer.
The meeting explodes with drama. Nicolas warns that Ecomoda could face liquidation due to overwhelming debts. Ignacio makes things worse by confessing that the papero sold him the warehouses, making Ignacio a shareholder. Now he refuses to stop collecting rent. Armando erupts in fury, shouting and stunning the room. Betty tries to mediate with solutions, but Ignacio stands firm. As a shareholder, he demands better. Majo tries to distract by chatting about Betty's vacation, but Mila interrupts, announcing that she's no longer Camila Mendoza. She is now Camila Pinzon. Hugo cracks a joke about the family's creativity. Mila has changed her last name, and Ignacio too. Once Ortiz, he now goes by Ignacio Valencia. Betty and Mila leave the meeting under Ignacio's taunts. Furious, Armando warns Ignacio never to insult his family again, threatening he has no idea what he's capable of when angry. But Majo twists the knife, asking which family Armando means, because as far as she's concerned, he doesn't have one anymore. Outside, Esteban the lawyer advises Betty not to worry and to tell Mila about Armando when she's ready. He admits the meeting was rough, but claims it was productive for him. Meanwhile, Jeff corners Mila, praising her designs and saying she could be the next Latin American fashion star. She brushes him off, but Jeff insists, claiming that although he asked Carmen to move in, the truth is he only wants to be with Mila. What he had with Carmen, he swears, was before Mila meant anything to him. Betty notices Ignacio's treatment of Mila and warns her. Mila replies she simply dislikes him, but that her mother is the only person who truly wants her happiness, because Betty is a great woman who deserves a man that values her. Betty almost confesses she was in Cartagena with Armando, but before she says his name, Esteban arrives. He mentions he was with her, and Mila assumes her mother meant him, the lawyer. Berta and Sandra, who overheard everything, spread the gossip immediately. They tell Hugo, who tells Patricia, who tells Gutierrez, until it lands in Armando's ears. He storms to Betty, demanding answers about the rumor she's dating Esteban. Betty clarifies it was Esteban who made it seem that way, and nothing ever happened. But Armando explodes. This is the worst day of his life. His daughter rejects his last name, Ignacio owns the warehouses, and now it seems Betty has a boyfriend. She tells him not to be jealous, but he insists it isn't jealousy. Betty suggests they let everyone believe she's with Esteban to protect Mila from the truth. She sets strict rules. If they're together, it stays secret, and their priority is saving Ecomoda. Meanwhile, Majo whispers to Ignacio that Armando will return, and they already have a new plan. Armando, in private, tells Betty she's his strength, the reason he's standing, and that he loves her. Betty answers in kind. Soon, Patricia's wedding day arrives. Hugo shows off the dress he designed. Betty reflects in her journal that she still believes in love. Then Esteban appears, holds her hands, and teasingly asks how his girlfriend is. Betty replies that she's thinking of her boyfriend, but the other one, Armando. Mila pulls Nicolas aside and tells him he doesn't have to marry Patricia just because she's pregnant, but Nicolas insists he's marrying her out of love. Majo advises Berta to find a boyfriend, but Berta reminds her of Freddy. Majo says he left her, but Berta argues it was Maria who disappeared. Hermes tells Nicolas he'll be godfather only to honor his mother, making clear he doesn't approve of Nicolas having a child with Patricia under these circumstances. Marcella and Hugo mock Patricia, asking if she'll be called Mora. Sandra remembers Patricia pulled something similar in the past. Amid gossip, Patricia swears she truly wants to marry and become a mother. Majo notices the papero lurking at the party and asks why he's there. Ignacio jokes he's looking for his next romantic failure. Together, they hatch a scheme. Majo warns Ignacio if he doesn't side with her, she could send him to prison. Later, she corners Armando, claiming she has a plan and needs him to back her. Armando hides his discomfort, insisting she belongs to his daughter. Majo cuts deep with sarcasm, reminding him it's the same daughter who doesn't want to see him and didn't invite him to the wedding. Then she drops a bomb. If he were more attentive, he'd know this wedding is actually about him and her. The ceremony begins. Patricia makes her grand entrance.
Majo presses Armando. While she controls the finances and delivers results, he belongs to her. Armando admits he feels guilty for everything she's done for him, and worse, he has no way to repay her. Their fight escalates when he accuses her of playing both sides with Ignacio and him. Majo coldly tells him to take Betty's example, find someone else. For now, she's his only option.
The wedding chaos continues when Freddy bursts in, uninvited but loud. The lawyer mocks him, saying Betty's train left him long ago, and so did Patricia's. Freddy rants, and Maria whispers that this is exactly how she first met him. In the end, Nicolas and Patricia marry. At the party, Maria tries to approach Freddy, but he ignores her. Berta notes he looks different, stronger. Maria tries to calm her. Patricia and Nicolas dance while Berta seizes the chance to invite Freddy to spend time with her. Meanwhile, the Papero approaches Marcella again, but she rejects him. He suggests a serious relationship, and when Patricia tries to invite Marcella to dance, she refuses. The Papero smugly claims she's already with him. Then comes the bouquet toss. Jeff urges Mila to catch it, but she tells him Carmen should, since Jeff still lives with her, unable to decide. At that exact moment, Armando walks in. The bouquet lands in Betty's hands while she's standing next to Esteban. The crowd bursts into laughter, shouting for her to marry. Maria tries to chat with Freddy, but he says he's like a comet. He only appears once every 10 years. Armando approaches Betty, telling her he wanted to see her. He comments that it looks like she's sharing something special with Esteban. Betty reminds him they've been legally separated for 3 months, words that pierce him. Mila then arrives, saying Esteban wants to dance with Betty, and drags her away. Armando mutters that this hurts even more. Out of nowhere, the ashes of Patricia's late husband, Pachito, arrive. Soon after, Mario shows up at the company. Everyone demands he leave. He hasn't worked there in months. But Mario smugly replies that now they are all his bosses. Majo and Ignacio storm in, announcing an urgent meeting. Ignacio scoffs at the absurdity of hosting a wedding in a bankrupt company. At the meeting, Majo reveals that the prosecutor is about to sentence Armando. Ignacio declares Ecomoda is on the brink of collapse. Mario adds that everything is heading straight to ruin. Mila, dripping with sarcasm, says his ideas always sit somewhere between hell and the abyss. Outside, Patricia is still trying to hand out cake, but no one notices. Everyone's locked into the meeting. Ignacio proposes injecting capital to pay fines and salaries, boasting that he has the money. Armando refuses. He will not lose the company at any cost. Mario suggests they all buy shares and let the Papero keep part. Just then, a man enters asking for Hugo Lombardi. Thinking it's about his platinum card, Hugo greets him, only to discover it's a debt collector. The man says he had to come personally because he blocked his number. Back in the meeting, Majo insists the priority is saving Ecomoda, but Marcella rejects Ignacio's offer, fearing loss of control. Betty asks for a day to analyze, but Ignacio gives them only 24 hours before liquidation. As the banker threatens to take everything from Hugo, Mario secretly listens in. Freddy begins to show signs of life again. Maria asks if he's back, but he angrily tells her not to call him an insect. Berta insists he looks better than before. Maria, worried, decides to ask Betty for a job at the company to keep an eye on him. Later, Betty and Armando meet again. She tells him people think they're siding with Ignacio. Armando grumbles that this game with the lawyer has gone on too long. Betty reminds him of their third rule. Their relationship is casual and without jealousy. But Armando breaks, confessing that all he wants is to shout to the world that he loves her and that they are together. Elsewhere, Nicolas takes Patricia to their new room. She expected something grander. When he tries to kiss her, she rejects him, citing her high-risk pregnancy and criticizing him for not being careful, even though she's near menopause. Nicolas pleads with her to reconsider, but she calls him selfish. Back with Betty and Armando, Betty worries about Ecomoda's employees and asks if they should accept Ignacio's offer.
Armando insists it's not the best path and begs her to trust him. He's risking his entire future on this. And with that, the first 2 explosive episodes of Season 2 come to an end. I've kept all events intact, but now it reads with suspense, flow, and intensity, perfect for a YouTube recap narration.